joint with a bolt, a rivet, or a weld. And the only way I can verify an old bolt, an old rivet, and an old weld is to load test it. It costs $3,000, $5,000, $8,000 for a typical 3 to 5 story structure to load test it and drag people down there. You may want to witness it. It's expensive. It buys no bolts, it buys no paint. If I take every bolt out of the treads and I change the bolts out, do you still want me to load test the treads? If I take I give you all brand new bolts.
No.
If I take out every bolt that is 50 to 75 years old, or rivet or weld, out of support, do you want me to load test it?
No.
Every bolt out of the railing, and I put brand new bolts on there. Okay, because if there's a failure on any of these new bolts, who do we sue? The bolt manufacturer. So all these bolts have been proven to be effective. So if I change every bolt on the fire escape, do I need to load test it? No. So this is the outside of the fire escape. I still got this 3 to 5% that's buried into the wall, which I don't have x-ray eyes and I can't see. So can I open up every single one of these tiebacks into a beautiful building, spend $200 to $500 a piece with a mason, visually look at everyone, photograph everyone, close everyone up for $200 to $500? Will that satisfy you that it's still good in the building? Great destruction, but that's called verification. So will that avoid the load test because I verified the connection? Well, the answer is yes. If you verify the connection, you don't have to do the load test. But do I want to spend $200 to $500 per support on a building that may have 20, 30, 40 supports?
Well, how do you know what's in between that wall? There's the water leak.
I got a guy that came in, he opened it all up. He opened it all up deep, man. It was a big job. Nobody wants their walls touched on these 50 to 75 year old structures. They don't want their walls touched. So I need another alternative to that connection. So I'm going to let the sleeping dogs lie on these connections that are buried on average 8 to 12 inches deep into the wall. But next to it, what I'm going to do is one of two things. To avoid having to verify this or load test these unknown wall connections, I'm going to drill a hole all the way through it, put another plate on the inside, 5 to 6 inches away from the original connection. So I let sleeping dogs lie. So my originally good or not connection stays. 3 to 5 inches away, I drill a brand new 3/4 hole, and I put a backing plate on it. I put a nut on the front, and I can mechanically fasten it back to the original connection. Do I have to load test that? Sometimes I may say, you know what, I want to use an epoxy bolt. And say, because I can't get in the back there for some reason. Because, there's some furniture or something that's built there. Can I use a Hilti epoxy bolt that goes through the veneer and into the masonry block wall? And yes, visualized by your inspector that's got to go there and put his finger in there and blow into it, and then he's got to watch you do the correct epoxy mix and put it in. It's all, all epoxies have to be verified by the inspector. The drilling, the cleaning, the installing. So what is faster? Epoxy bolting or through bolting and putting plates? Okay. Now if I do that, can I avoid the load test? So that's where we're at. The refurbishment now, and I'll end it on this, and I'll open up the questions, and then Stu can let me know what you guys want to do as far as any additional time. But if I've duplicated the connections into the building, which is part of one of the questions about the through bolt connection, and I've changed every major structural bolt on the fire escape. Any minor structural bolts we have to deal with, as far as if they have minor scroll works and things that have nothing to do with the major structural. Do I have to change 100% or 80, 90% of the major structural under the direction of an engineer to avoid the load test, right? So what's the advantage of a load test today and a load test and a refurbishment today in lieu of a load test? A load test today, and today is 2012, means their next load test, their next $3,000, $5,000, $8,000 expense plus cost of living increase comes when? 2017, like clockwork. If they refurbish this 50, 75, 100-year-old structure today, you're providing them with other evidence of strength. And how long is the average national time before you really start questioning the bolts again? Which, when they did the refurb, got sealed in 30 to 50 year silicone, which was never done in the life of that thing. So when we tear it apart, and we're about to put any connection back together that we've cleaned, primed, and we're putting it back together, but before we put it back together, we inject it with silicone, and we go, and and then we run our finger and goop it all around, we've encapsulated, because rust needs two things to grow. Water, which you get plenty of up here, and what else? Air. As soon as you put silicone in there, what are you depriving it of? Air. So now, this fire escape that was refurbished today, 5 years from today, I have to do a confidence test again. Can I provide you other evidence of strength that 5 years ago was a full refurb? And they've been keeping it painted. And all the joints are silicone sealed. 10 years from today, can I give you that? 15 years, can I give you other evidence of strength? This is an engineer giving you other evidence of strength, with no disclaimer. 20 years, right? He's giving you other evidence of strength, because that's what the law says. The NFPA is very clear. Load tests are other evidence of strength. Your fire code, depending on structural condition, well, you're getting told for 20 years the thing's in what kind of condition? Good to excellent condition. Even if the owner blows off painting it for 5 years, and you get back to it, what does he have to do? Just paint it. Does he have to do anything with the structural connections? Not if you have silicone. Can rust get into a connection that has silicone? So you can have surface rust, but you can't. It won't get back in there. So that's the point that we're trying to drive here today. Is the refurbishment should be suggested to a lot of people, because load testing is every 5 without fail, no matter what condition you have in your fire escape. You refurbish it, even if it's a few bucks today, you won't have this load test fee every 5 years for the next 20 to 25 years. You have any fire escape that has been refurbished and got knocked up by a truck, what do you order immediately? Another load test. It could be in the greatest of condition, but what do you order? Load test. Any questions that you guys may have? Stu?
Again, how long is the refurbishment good for? You said 20, 25 years?
No, the refurbishment will last indefinitely as long as you keep it painted. People's problems are not painting fire escapes. But a properly maintained fire escape, you're not going to, you're probably going to stop accepting other evidence of strength 20 to 25 years from now, because now you're questioning 25-year-old bolts. So at that time, they may say, you know what, just throw a load test on it and buy load test to push it along, or just refurbish the thing in 25 years. Question?
The good news for you from our end of it, here in-house, we have a policy that's pending modification. It's any day now. We've been told that repeatedly, but for the last 2 months. So it's ready to come out. We've tweaked the person who has it in their hands again, and they are moving on it again. So hopefully our modified policy will be out. We'll be going over that. It'll be a reinforcement of a lot of what Cisco just finished saying, and we'll get into the details of how Portland is going to fine-tweak the system that's out there right now. Hopefully we'll have that within the next couple of weeks. I've been told that for a month and a half. So, my thank you to Cisco for coming. Ken, thank you for joining us from Estacada. President Forcade is going to be here in just a couple of minutes. This is the president coming. You're being booted by only the best. I'm just ranking. Always ranking. But thank you again for coming. And stick around here in a couple of minutes. Jim should be in.
Perfect. And I'll just mention that you guys are actually now the leaders with this program that you guys have. The change in the Oregon code that AJ and Stu are working on in the past, primarily AJ, put you guys at the leader, as a leader, so it's one state down, 49 to go, with a very simple model that basically says, have it examined, have the examiner watch the repair, have the repair lead into a load test or a refurbishment, and that exception rule says that if it's been refurbished, you can prolong when you think you're going to get the next load test at the discretion of the fire marshal and the engineer. And then the last thing that I don't know, I think there's language in there, AJ, about there's a tagging process, right? Did that make it in there?
Yeah, well, it'll be in the policy, there is signage. So what he's referring to is the Mid-Central Code Amendment that went into the 2010 edition, which we're still in the process of adopting. And we're getting closer. So that language about the testing, maintenance, signage, imminent hazard, what we're going to do, that's in the code for 2010. And the policy that Stu referred to that's in draft is based on that new language. And so part of the signage will be a little bit different than what Cisco has, but it requires signage by code. But we're following, I think it's the 2012 2012 edition. There's some signage that we're going off of based on the code and some basics, but there's some minimum criteria that needs to be captured on that signage.
And that can be done by calling up either Tacoma or Seattle. Seattle, like I said, has signage, and they've gone through this whole process, but it's 19 inches wide, 11 inches high, 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently affixed on a plastic sign on the fire escape for the permanent one.
And
The
it
last
will be
5 years.
similar, but there's actually, the base code has some prescriptive signage information for fire escapes in later editions of the code. So we will go off of that. But the signage, specification, all of that is captured in the policy. And our code, 2010, will require it at the lowest level of fire escape, first balcony, and at the top. So in case we have truck crews that have been assigned and maybe not left hand talking to the right hand immediately on scene, we're going to have signage posted at the top. So in case somebody is assigned roof operations or somehow gets up there and thinks they're going to go down or something of that nature, we're going to post it with our.
So you guys went to number 1 as far as a model city to follow. And we've, and as she knows, I've mentioned many cities to call, but sometimes they do call, sometimes they don't call. But she gets a lot of the calls nationwide because, like I said, you guys not only took 5 years, but not only took it through this guinea pig stage that we call it, but then all of a sudden went right to changed the whole entire state code associated with it. So 1 state down, 49 to go. And this is the model. There's nothing else to do. Examine it, repair it, load test it or certify it, tag it. It's a 4-step process. It's pretty simple. And you guys have sort of gotten it done. And with enough of these videos online, other cities are just basically coming in and saying, okay, stop writing scrape and paint violations, but do right. Repair, paint it, test it, and all will be good in the world. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very good.
And as you might have noticed, Mr. Forquet is here, so we'll be moving into meeting with him directly. Yeah. He's getting his projector out with the car.
Yeah.
I know. I think he's just gonna plug in the computer.
Get it.
I think we should do that there.
Anybody wants to send them links to some of the classes, give me a business card?
You finally gave up.
You got a deal for those silvers out there?
Oh, yeah. Michael and I are
Anybody
buddies.
has any
I
questions?
got it from the back house.
You need one? Hopefully, like they say, it'll, did I read it? Let me give you that. Yeah, and it's funny because, like I said, on YouTube, this issue with this class, it's a lot of heat, it gets a lot of heat.
No, this is his. So, that process. The only problem is not interrupting the lens.
It's almost
But
like.
sometimes what we do is we actually use those first of all, and use it, and then it wants to pull everything else. Sometimes a combination of that. But it all depends on the area, what truck will show up, because a lot of times they have the ability to, physically just get up there, but sometimes it's, but most of mine have been with a load cell, using a cable system. And the last one we did in LA for the Bob Hope building, there was no ground floor. There was a section of a building, so we actually have to load test. We have to load floor number 2, and then from it, we pull everything else. But then on the very top floor, we had an oddball that shot off fully away from where I could. So we have to bring sandbags and chips that way. Yes.
Same setup you've got.
Yeah, they'll do it right away.
Hey, I wanted to do a